Yoga Sutras are, we call it the philosophy of yoga, is a field of philosophy, Indian philosophy, and they very short sentences. Hence, we call it is the name of sutras. They're very short sentences, very direct to the point. They are not very elaborated, and each yogi and each translator or commentary has their own view of what the meaning of those. In general, they all say the same, but then depending of each one experience, and that is specific to each person, then it might bring connections with other things. So I will start with a chant to Patanjali. It's a short chant, so you're welcome to place the hands into prayer or just close your eyes or soft gaze. Yogena chittasya padena vacham malam charirasya cha vaidakena yopakarotam pravaram muninam Patanjali pranjali ranatusmi Abahu Purushakaram Shankachakra Siddharinam Sahasihasam Shvetam Pranamami Patanjalim Srimate Anantaya Naragajaya Namo Namaha. Namaste. So the first chapter is Samadhi chapter. He speaks a lot on the tools to achieve a calm mind. So he starts by speaking the Vrittis, and it then goes into Abhyasa and Shadra, that is practice and faith. He also taps a little bit in different types of Samadhi. And to create a linear thought of how to reach Samadhi, commenters and mainly philosophy teachers, they go from sutra and jump some others and then come back. Because, for example, what we're going to do today, we're going to speak on the first two sutras, which give us what is yoga, Atta Yoga Anushasanam, and Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. And then in Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha is that our mind is one pointed, is directed in one object and is focused. And so there, and Chitta, so he's speaking about the mind, it concludes us that Vrittis and states of mind are mentioned there. But after that, he comes with the outcome of it and the not outcome, and only after then he starts to speak of the sutras of the Vrittis, that end states of the mind. So we kind of jump those two sutras for them then coming back to those. So for us, it makes more sense and creates a linear thought onto the Yoga Sutras. So Yoga, Atta Yoga Anushasanam. Atta means now. And now what it means is also is indicating the present moment. The teacher and the student will be present, mindfully present, and leaving the ego behind is also, and for that to happen, the teacher and the student must respect each other. The student meets the needs of the guru, and the guru meets the needs of the student. Is a changeable, interchangeable connection within the guru and the student. It's also when we chant Atta Yoga Anushasanam, we're saying to ourselves as well, now I'm ready to start to receive the teachings of yoga. I've taken the first step to start to take the teachings of yoga, and therefore I'm going to bring my mind into focus into those teachings. The word yoga means union. It comes from the root word yog, and when all those three components, that is the mind, soul, and body, are connected, then is no distortion. There's no distortion in the mind, and there's no distortion in how we can perceive things. They become very clear into our minds. Anushasanam is the following the rules and the teachings, and then we come back again into the relationship between the student and the guru. And also those teachings can be is two ways of obtaining, which transforms into knowledge. We have intellectual knowledge, which will be provided through studies and practice, and the experiential knowledge that it belongs to each individual. Each individual will have a different experience from it, and also an individual path towards on the path of yoga. So when the practice of yoga starts, reflection starts to happen. We start to reflect upon what is these sensations that we feel after a asana practice. We start to also to reflect upon the teachers' recommendations to how we should observe and listen, right? And what happens in asana practice, we start to listen within and towards around our space, so we can, and there is a reflection of what that of us towards the world, right? So we start to see our lives changing because that reflection starts to happen. And as you noticed, each person, their reflections and their conclusions and how they observe, they will be particular to them. So on Sutra 2, then he comes with the first teaching, that is Yogaha Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Yogaha is yoga, union. Chitta is the mind field. Vritti is activities of the mind, fluctuations, waves, impulses. You even can say that is prana moving. Prana is the vehicle to thought. It comes from the sensory input, and prana takes that sensory information to the mind. Nirodha, control, restriction of the vrittis, these thoughts rising and coming, and fluctuations, sense of I. The mind has three functional directions. It's like a little ladder. It starts with the manas, that is the lower mind. That is everything that we can. For example, I touch something hot, and automatically it comes to the mind that is hot. But so it gathers information through the senses, and the hands, the eyes, the smell, touch, what we hear, sounds, right? What happens in this level of the mind is impulses. It becomes impulsive. We react to things because is not passing through the cognition, and is not passing through um, the sense of I and the previous experience that elaborate that sense of I. So is my teacher would say is where regret happens. We act instant by without thinking. We'd say, right? So dukkha, that is unhappiness, a positive opposite to sukha, is where it tends to happen. So from there, we manas, buddhi, hahamkara. Buddhi is then the cognition, is the intellect, aligns the manas to not be so impulsive. And then you have hahamkara, that is the sense of I, it organizes our thoughts and with previous experience, with memory, with education, with the cognitive aspect of it. So this yoga chitta vritti nirodha will be to align those three in harmony as well. And then so the mind, if also it has these three functional directions that it starts. Okay, we have the sensory input, goes to the manas, then goes to the buddhi, and then to the hamkara, and then the mind itself has different moods. So we have ksiptan, that is the monkey mind, and imagine one thought can have different moods, let's say. So no one thought, but our mind can shift from the 5 moods in the space of a minute or two. So you have Kshiptan, that is the monkey mind, and is very restless, and you can associate it a little bit with elevate rajas. Is always jumping like the monkey. It's always jumping from one side, which I imagine it creates a lot of anxiety when that happens. And then you have mudam, that is, I'd say, is associated with tamas. It's lazy, is dull, heavy. It also can be a little bit obsessed. From there, we start to go to a more elevated states like Vixipterm, that is like a pendulum mind. I'm focused, I'm not focused, I'm linear, and I'm all over the shop. And then you have Ekagratam. Eka means one, Gratam means the tip. So we focus in one object. And then at the 5th level, we have Nirodha, that we are completely enveloped on that focused object. Nothing can go inside and nothing can go outside. Nobody can disturb you, and as you cannot disturb nobody. So Nirodha is the 5th level. So yoga chitta vritti nirodha. So our mind will be so enveloped in the object, and I guess all of us, we had at least a little bit of that experience in asana practice, or in watching a concert, or in a theater play, where you are so enveloped in in that precise moment. You can't. Anything else that is around you is not affecting you at all. And as you are not affecting the others, because you are so absorbed by that energy that is taking around you and in your mind. So is a very nice analogy that many teachers of yoga mention that this state of yoga chitta nirodha is when you can see the reflection of yourself in a lake with no ripples. So imagine the thoughts will be all the stones or things that or leaves that fall from the sky and create these ripples in the water. And yoga chitta nirodha will be a calm, soft, smooth lake where you can see your perfect reflection. So the mind is clear and is not distorted by the thoughts, by the cliches, by mainly those. Everything else then it just comes from the root of those two. The cliches are the reasons of suffering. So for what the mind tends to do is for example, if we speak about a fruit or a plate of food, let's say food, because I think everyone likes food, healthy, not healthy, but I prefer healthy, but that's personal opinion. If you speak about like, I don't know, pineapple, some people would like pineapple and other people would not like pineapple. But here we go. The mind straight away starts to associate the color of the fruit, the taste. Uh, if you like it, if you don't like it, even then it will start to go into um, places and days or with people you might have that pineapple. Uh, and then from the people who's going to come other memories of what happened with that people. So the mind is this is how the mind tends to work. Chitta vritti nirodha, he will say pineapple. That's it. No colors, no other thoughts will come and interfere with so it's also bring this focus and a place where learning and transformation can happen. Because we on that part of focus, some samskaras will not be able to rise. So transformation within starts to happen. So from there, we jump into Sutra number 5, that he says the origins of the Vrittis. So how they manifest. And he says, actually going to come here. Vrittaya panchataya klishta ha klishtaha. Klishta aklishtaha. Vritaya is Vrittis. It comes from the same root word, activities of the mind. Panchataya is pancha is 5, and so it's 5. They are 5-fold. Klishta is suffering or afflicting, and aklishta is the opposite. So in many words in Sanskrit, if the A is behind the word, is basically the opposite of the meaning. So for example, we spoke before that manas is normally where unpleasurable things happen or regret happens. No? So is the reason why thoughts are bound or free. Is controlling the manas that we start to be able to unbound from that way of behaving, that is by reacting instead of responding. So the response is something that is healthy for us to do instead of using the manas only to act. So we want to pass those sensory inputs through the buddhi, the intellect, and and to the hamkara, because if you working through through reflection and in the path of yoga, the responses, even though it's passing through the hamkara, that is the ego, but the ego is already changing into something that is not so loud and not so self-absorbed. So here is, and so it's also saying that, and it's going to mention on the next sutra what are the fivefold. So here he's saying that Vrittis are five. We have 5 types of Vrittis. And he says Pramana, Viparyaya, Vikalpa, Nidra, Smrityaya. Pramana is the correct understanding. And then from there is go deeper into each one. So pramana is right understanding. Viparyaya is the incorrect understanding. Vikalpa is imagination. Nidra is sleep. And smrtiyaha is smrti is memory. So we're going to do a little practice in the end, and it's not going to be a long practice, but like 10-15 minutes practice into analyzing our thoughts into these five categories. And at the end, on the overall, we will try to also to identify what kind of mind was happening or was active in that moment, like the monkey mind or the dull mind, the one-focused mind, and also trying to analyze if we are reacting or if we are responding to perhaps sensations that come in the body. So from here he goes into describing each vritti quality. So pratyaksha, hanumana, agamaha, pramanani. Pratyaksha is what is directed, perceived by the senses or a validated experience. Anumana is from logic. Agamaha is like from testimonies of others, mainly of people or gurus or books that have a recognition of truth. And pramanani is the correct knowledge. So the correct knowledge, it can be occurred through 3 processes. That is pratyaksha, the one that is in front of us, is experienced by us. Although is what is in front of us, depending of what the conditioning of or education we have, then is also can be clouded, let's say. So the right understanding as the viparyaya, the wrong understanding, they both partial true and partial wrong. The pramanani becomes true when it's experienced by yourself. So, for example, agamaha, that is through reading a book or through reading philosophy or to any reliable source, is only your own correct understanding when you actually experience for yourself. And then the other process is hanumana, that is through reasoning and through analogy of perceiving things. So again, then the knowledge is individual. We come back again to the first 2 sutras, that this right knowledge, what can be right knowledge for me, it can be different knowledge for others, is where we try to establish the respect between what I think that is the right and for what the other person is right, knowing that perception and understanding, he has a very rooted underlying layers of um, life experiences, education, um, trauma, all those things that is elaborates our personality. So from there we come into the opposite of pramanani, that is viparya. Viparyayo mitya jnanam matadrupa pratishtam. This will be the sound of, we can chant all together if you would like. So opposite viparyayo is the wrong understanding, opposite of right understanding. Mithya is false. Jnanam is knowledge. Atadrupa is in another form. So it presents yourself in another form. And pratishtam, it means established. So it's established in the mind as in another form of knowledge. This one can be temporarily, right? We can perceive many times things happen, and we perceive them based in wrong knowledge until we have advice or speak with a friend, and it clears our mind, and we can transform that knowledge into the right knowledge, or to something that. What happens with wrong knowledge is where things can go wrong. We can say or do things that are not appropriate because our wrong understanding is leading us as well to create all these little stories that to fulfill our ego and to fulfill our needs. So we have a little fruit fly. So viparya is also a little baby from our little egos that goes around. It just grows because the ego wants to feed onto into some samskaras of habits of, for example, being angry. Being angry becomes a samskara. What happens? You create this false knowledge to start to create events, or to create the scenario where that can happen. Jealousy is another one. I think even the sense of being a little princess. I'm Portuguese, and I moved from England a year ago, so my English sometimes is drifting. Going forward, from there we have imagination. I feel that sometimes imagination and memory are a big part of our wrong understanding as well. The imagination again is feeding into many little me's wanting to come out, and the memory is also one that it plays a big part into the wrong understanding. So Sutra number 9 says Shabda Jnana Na. I will have to chant. Shabda Jnana Nupati Vastu Shunyo Vikalpaha. So Sabda is spoken word or sound. Jnana knowledge. Anupati is something that arises out. Vastu Shunyo, the total absence of the objects. We're talking here about imagination. So the reality, what is saying the reality is not here. Imagination, vikalpaha, imagination, fantasy, mental construction. So what happened with imagination is, for example, and it happens quite a lot, is we thinking in the future or thinking about how the future will come along. So if I have an important meeting tomorrow, I will start to imagine all the possibilities that might arise and also solutions for those possibilities. Although more you try to figure out what the possibilities that might arise, one thing I've noticed is I never got it right. What happens is we get to the meeting and we are so losing the control of the situation in the sense of the mind, because I was imagining something to happen and then it came completely different of what I thought it could have happened. So another place where imagination also plays a big role is when we don't have closure on events, or when things must be postponed for another day. Imagine, you have important conversation with a friend and suddenly is cut by an event and something, that you imagine you had to go home or something happened and you had to leave. And that conversation will have to stay for the next day. Meanwhile, we're going to be imagining what's going to be the conclusion of that. So basically, if something happens, we want always to close the circle. That is what the mind does. He only gets rest when the circle is closed. So I'm just checking the battery. Okay, just 1 second. I just have to get to the power supply. So, Christine, pointless thoughts not being in the yoga. We cannot help it to do it. No. The only thing you can do is to recognize those. And the recognition of those, it will already make us, it's like saying to yourself, not now, I know you're there, but I don't want to deal with you right now. Another day or another time. So with that practice, eventually those thoughts are going to start to subside. There's some samskaras, they're very deep ingrained within us. Our culturally, I think it happens a lot. We've been listening to those kind of thoughts every single day, right? Since we even perhaps in mama's bellies, that's we already been listening and taking all those emotions and all those hormones, and so the recognition of those is already such a big step, I find, because it already gives you the time to say, I don't want this right now, another day. So much time is wasting imagining what might happen, what might be said, and so on. I think we like a little bit of drama, right? And the drama is all that, right? It gives us a little bit of ecstasy, thinking all those. The point is, the ecstasy comes when the outcome is positive. If we soon the thought might arise that the outcome might not be as possible, then is pain and suffering happens, and the body tenses up, and from there it just escalates to project those things out. What we tend, humans tend to do is um, to deposit more thoughts into unpleasant sensations. Why? Because they are harder to deal with, right? Pleasant sensations we live in, we appreciate the moment. Well, hard sensations is when we have to deal with the state we are and how we are. So they create this fear, and therefore they hold more into us. So, but artists and others, imagination can be useful if you don't let yourself be emotionally involved, and don't create that monkey pattern of going from one to another. Yeah, it's very simple, yeah, right? The not now, another appointment, another day is useful because it gives you that time. It's like inviting coffee into your life. Having those thoughts is a bit of vata pitta kind of associated. Soon you say not now, another time. You're inviting that coffee that is bringing you that groundness, is giving you a moment for you to think, for you to say what I'm thinking or what's happening right now is pointless, like you said. It's a waste of time. Is really serving you for me to grow, or is bringing me down? Yeah, is simple and effective for sure. So let's go really quick on the next, that is nidra. Nidra is speaking about sleeping. So why is involving sleeping into a state of thoughts? Why is a quality of thoughts if you are sleeping? So even though we are sleeping, the mind is still working in a very lower wave, but all the egos, all memories, wishes, imagination, they all like over there working, even experiences. Sometimes we watch a film and then we're going to dream about it. And other times we watch a film and we dream about it in the next year, and we thought already that we forgot about it, but the information is there. So it goes into our subconscious. That tool is still working. So you always can see, when you remember your dreams, you always can not look at the explicit meaning of it, but where comes from within, where that dream comes from inside of you, where is the connection. So I didn't chant, I would chant it. Abba Om Abhava Prayaya Lambana Tamo Vrittir Nidra. Number 11. Anubhuta Vishaya Asam Pramushaha Smrtihi. So here it comes to the memory. So memory is conscious experience we had in the past, right? They all get stored here, and more we recall them, more distorted they can be. Is also a feeling of not letting go. We're not letting go of that memory. And now we have a bank of memories, and even each shell has the memory as well of that day, because it will transmit a release of hormones, or depending of what bring it to you, if it happens or sadness. So that cell is also going to have, the cells, they also going to have the memory of what happened on that day. And when sometimes in deja vus, or in situations that happened before and they about to happen again, the body sometimes reacts. All the cells tense up. Sometimes pains or aches happen in one side or the other, depending what type of stress you're dealing already. So that is all yourself saying to you. Um, so what? So recall memory is useful. It keeps us out of trouble. It keeps us out of danger. Is But also having a memory of everything. Imagine how hard and painful that can be. Don't have the ability to let go and even give space for new memories to come, or to just leave it in the void so you can um, leave it to faith, let's say. So the memories and samskara, they're very interconnected. Those So soon we start to let go of certain samskaras and certain memories that are not beneficial for our inner growth. Transformation happens into a more peaceful life and a more happier life, where dukkha is less present and hopefully not present at all. So the yoga is kind of clearing these old memories that are stopping us, are like a wall, not allowing us to go through. So we will say that the karma is this, puts those karma shares, all those samskaras from the past. And samskaras, advanced yogis will be able to burn them completely, eradicate them of their root. They were never going to flourish again. We associate samskaras as a seed. But our goal will be to the samskaras to just freeze. And for that, we need to practice. So interrupted practice. And practicing yoga is self-study, is asana, is pranayama, is meditation, is how you face your world out there using your yamas and niyamas. It doesn't have to be in the mat, on the mat, in the house. It can be a constant, is a way of living, right? It can be used in the simple matter of lifting a pencil off the table. If I'm totally self-absorbed in what is happening there, and nothing else is coming in and coming out, we are practicing. Right? So, thinking that, I would like us to, we're already 45 minutes, a bit extended in this talk here. So I would like us to practice for 10 minutes, and then I will let you go, and I will go to the cooker and practice some mindfulness while cooking. A little joke. So I would like this for us for 10 minutes to observe our thoughts. So we have right knowledge, wrong knowledge, vikalpa, imagination, nidra, sleep, like when you're drowsiness. I think nobody's gonna, and memory. From that, after we do that, we then analyze which part of level of our mind is working. And so you have the manas. From manas goes to the buddhi, and the buddhi goes to the hamkara. So if a thought rises, which one is reacting and which one is responding? So is your mind reacting or responding? If he's reacting, then he's going through the manas, and if he's responding, then he's going through the three levels. And mainly we will practice the ekagrata state of mind, that is one focused mind. But perhaps we're going to go into we keep them. That is the one that is oscillating between focus and unfocus. Um, so if you can, bringing yourself into a seated position, cross-legged, and start to focus on the breath. I'm going to turn this light away now. Um, so coming into a cross-legged position, posing the hands into the knees or into the thighs, cupping the hands as we feel. Relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the jaw, the whole face. Observing the breath. Already observing the breath is a thought process here happening. So soon the mind starts to create the stories of how your breath is or not and why. Then you can evaluate. For example, the mind is already oscillating from ekagratam to vikiptam, and also you can start to study upon those thoughts. Are they really based in the right knowledge, or I'm just feeding some ego by imagining what does it mean to have a longer breath or a shorter breath? Are we just following the breath without having any kind of thought? We're not here to suppress the thoughts. We are here to identify what type of thoughts are we having. And if also suppressing the monkey mind, the keep mind, by keeping yourself as much as focus into one thought at a time. And when you full analyze that thought, then again we say not now, right? If it happens to that thought to lead into a thought, try to trace it back to the original thought and let the road end there and come back just to the flow of the breath. Eventually, the mind would respond or react to input, to a new and another new thought for us to observe and to create a place of self-study. Please do take this practice as a self-study, but not um, to judge yourself or to be to expect to have any expectation. We want to be kind with ourselves and practice at the same time non-violence, ahimsa, self-study for self-healing. Coming back into the breath, in and out. Can activate a little bit of Ujjayi breath if you